Hello and welcome to Mountain Climbers. First of all, you know what I say. If you're inspired by the stories that are shared on this channel, then I would love for you to subscribe and be a part of the Mountain Climbers community. I am so excited for this interview for a couple of reasons. One, I love to host anytime I can a fellow Asburian and get to reminisce with them about the good old days. But I'm also excited about this interview because I'm hosting Marcus Rixon today, and I am truly honored for this opportunity. What I love about Marcus's story that you will see is that God can do so much and move mountains with a willing vessel. And that's what I hope you get out of today's interview. If you have big dreams and visions of where you want to be in life, then you're going to want to hear Marcus's story because you'll see if you put in the work and you are ready to walk through the doors that God has for you, then you know what? The sky is the limit. So let's head over to Zoom and meet up with Marcus. And I know you are going to be so inspired, and your mind is literally going to be blown when you hear all that God orchestrated for him. Hey, Marcus, welcome to Mountain Climbers.
Hey, Whitney, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. The pleasure is all mine. I always get excited when I can host a fellow Asburyan. But what I really love about your story is it's going to show my viewers what God can do with a willing vessel. And I know that's what's going to come of it. And I'm so looking forward to see what big things God does through this. But we're from India, born and raised. So what part of the country did you live in?
Born and raised in the city of Calcutta, the same city a lot of people might know as the city that Mother Teresa is from.
Oh,
So, uh,
not
uh,
that.
it, it- yeah, so it's a big city. A lot of people,
Okay.
and yeah.
That's cool. Now, you come from a family, and you yourself, you're all born again Christians. So how rare is that in India? And did you ever feel like you were in danger?
So both my parents, my heritage is half Indian, half British.
Okay.
So the lineage on both my mom and dad's side, there is British blood in our, and hence my name is Marcus.
Yeah.
My dad's name is Carlton. Mom's name is Heather. Uh, so so Calcutta was actually the British headquarters for India, and the British ruled India for 200 years.
Very interesting.
So that's a long time. So Calcutta is one of the places that Christianity is probably mostly known. Um, I did go to a Christian school, a missionary school named Assembly of God school, and same with my mom and dad. And um, we're Christians in a country that has less than 2% of people Christians.
Wow. Definitely in the
India, yeah, India is a country of 1.5 billion people, or close about that, and less than 2% are Christians. So we're definitely the minority, the minority, the minority.
minority.
When it comes to danger, there's no sort of danger if you're really just keeping to yourself. But if you're in a religious space of either trying to be a ministry
Mhm.
or a religious organization, there's a lot of complications that comes with that, especially in a country like India.
Yeah. So with that upbringing and the fact that you did go to a Christian school and having being part British and part Indian, how was it like growing up where you did?
Yeah, so a little different. Right now, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee.
Very
Uh,
culture
yeah,
shock.
yeah, so a music city right here. Calcutta is a little different. A lot of people I did grow up in a small home with my mom and dad and sister, where we weren't we're poor. We didn't have a lot.
Mhm.
So I grew up in a home that was 12 feet by 6 feet wide, which is not really big. Probably actually way smaller than my office right now. Way smaller. Where my mom and dad slept on the floor all day, like all my life, and
Mhm.
me and my sister shared a bed. Um, but I was able to go to school through a organization that kind of partnered with my parents called One Child,
Yeah.
which provided me the opportunity to go to a Christian school
Mhm.
and get an education. So way different than this city, but yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's definitely very different. I'm sure when finally came to America, it was like, what world did I step into?
Air conditioning everywhere.
I
What?
I know. And like, uh, I've been on some mission trips. Do you guys shower with cold water or hot water?
Oh, it's always cold water, and
Okay.
it's usually I grew up having a shower with one bucket of water, or maybe half.
Wow.
And so it's like if you once you're done with that bucket, you better be rinsed off by then. No soap in your eyes,
Yeah.
because I never grew up with running water at all. So even from our daily amount of water that we
Mhm.
wash dishes with, or
Mhm.
wash the clothes with, or showered, or used the bathroom, or drinking water
Yeah.
was all like it was all measured out, and we knew what we had for the day. So having a running faucet here with hot water or cold water coming out it is a huge blessing.
Oh, I can even imagine it. You know, despite what you didn't have, your family had a lot of joy, and you made the best out of your situation. And as you grew up, like most kids do, you developed passions and interests. And one huge passion, I'd say your biggest passion, became music. How did that love foster?
Oh my goodness. S- yeah, my mom. So I went to school and I would come home every night, and my mom would. We didn't have a television, but we had a little radio at home that was just on the wall. And every evening when we were home, my mom would put something on the radio while she got dinner ready for us. And usually it was whatever the radio played, and it was music, and it was a lot of Western music. She listened to everybody from Eric Clapton to Elton John to
Wow.
the Eagles, and that's what I grew up listening to and being really Dolly Parton,
Oh,
and and the more I listened, that was a way for me to get away from my current situation, not in a negative way, but it opened the world out to me.
yeah.
And and when I went to school, since I was going to a school, they had they had morning chapels at the school,
Okay.
and I started working with the AV team, the audio visual people that set up the chapels,
Yeah.
and I would just start volunteering my time, just helping people set up for chapel music, or there's a speaker, and in all of that, it was the eighth grade. I remember just sitting there and be like, "Oh my gosh, I love music so much. I'm not a singer. I'm not a musician. I can play. I can dabble, as they
Yeah.
say." But I was like, you know what? I want to be a part of the music industry, and I think everything leading up to that point in my life was was music, and I just loved it so much that I was like, I need to figure this out.
Yeah, that's so cool, and it's really inspiring to think something as simple as that little radio led to big dreams for you. But knowing where you live, did you ever wonder, okay, how am I going to make these dreams possible?
Absolutely. The first time I was like, okay, what am I going to do in music? Be the next Backstreet Boy? Like that's the. I was like, I guess they need one more guy.
Or high?
Uh, yeah, but it was more while I worked the the chapel services, there were missionaries that had come to speak at the school,
Uh-huh.
and he's like, "Man, you're really good at this stuff. You
Mhm.
know, there's technical schools
Uh-huh.
that you could go and try be a part of that kind of further this." I was like, "What are you saying?"
You're
And
open
so,
to
yeah, so I started looking into to recording and
okay.
to being in a studio and what that looked like
Yeah.
for artists. And with my music teacher, who kind of was my sounding board, I was like, "Are there opportunities in India that allow for these things?"
Yeah.
And there is. Bombay, or Mumbai, as you know it now, is the Hollywood of India. It's Bollywood,
Okay.
and Calcutta's on the East Coast, Mumbai's on the West Coast,
Yeah.
and he was like, there are opportunities right there to kind of get into the Indian music scene, which was kind of exciting already for me.
Yeah.
But I was like, I want to be in the I want to be in the Western music scene. That's where I want to be. I want to take my talents there, and I did some research, and I found this thing called uh, audio engineering, and I was like, oh gosh, that's what I want to do. I want to be an audio engineer,
Yeah.
and that was my transition into the dream of doing what I'm doing. Was the
Okay.
passion of going learning how to record artists.
Okay. That's so awesome when like, you know what you want to do, but you don't know if there's anything out there, that you can actually dive into that world. And then when you finally find it, you're like, I found my people. Like I know where I'm supposed to go. And
Absolutely.
really cool. And I what I love is you had parents who wanted you to succeed just as much as you did. They wanted you to be able to achieve those big dreams. And how they did it, you already mentioned the organization, One Child.
Hmm.
I kind
Hmm.
of want you to go into more detail. What is this organization and what all did they do for you?
Awesome. I would love to. This is the coolest story. So One Child is a nonprofit organization that is based in Colorado Springs
Okay.
that work with kids and missionaries all across the globe.
Oh,
What they did for someone like me, who my family wanted the best for me, but just didn't have the financial means or had the resources to put a child through school. In India, there are free government schools, but a proper education, it's all paid for. And my parents couldn't afford that. So what One Child did was they helped me get a sponsor,
okay.
uh, uh, actually from Memphis, Tennessee. I didn't know it back then,
Yeah.
but they helped me get a sponsor who decided to pay a monthly sponsorship fee that helped cover my my tuition fee, which was to pay for the school every month, my meals Monday to Friday. I ate lunch in school, the uniform I wore, the shoes I wore,
Wow.
and the books that I needed to get my education. And I was a sponsor kid for 14 years, from the time I entered school till the time I graduated.
Wow.
And David and Regina from Memphis, Tennessee, were my sponsors through that whole journey. So they were part of my family. And that's what One Child does. They try and help bring dreams and opportunities to people and families
Mhm.
that just might not have that. And they have an organization that has about 40,000 kids right now. So they're spread across the world and helping people in a global community aspect of uh,
Amazing.
helping kids, helping teachers, helping just grow the community and bringing dreams to those people. Yeah.
That's amazing. And kind of segue and ask you something that I didn't give you as far as questions, but how? Because I mean, you wouldn't be where you are today without David and Regina. So, how can people who will be listening to your episode, look into One Child and think and pray about becoming a sponsor and take those steps to do that?
Yes. You can go to onechild.org. So
Okay.
that's onechild.org. And there's a little search engine right there. If you type in Marcus, you should be able to find some of my story and content. But it's onechild.org, and then I'm hoping that maybe we could put the link up in
Definitely.
the series and kind of have you people check it out. You can follow me on social media. It's just Marcus Rixon. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook,
Mhm.
and I'll be more than happy to connect you with the organization.
That will be great. So we can get more people to do what, David and Regina did for you. Just think of how many more, Christians we would have out there impacting the world and getting the gospel out there. So I think that's a fantastic thought. So yes, I'm very excited about that. Hopefully this will foster that. But oh, one question I did want to ask you. You got to meet them, right?
Yes. Cool story. I'll try and keep this as short as possible. So,
I want
um,
you to share it
I-
because I remember watching it and it's like the most heartwarming story ever. I mean, it brings tears to your eyes. So yes, please share it.
so just so you know, so I came to a school here in the States, Asbury University, same as you,
Yes,
Lindsay.
and we'll get
Uh,
to that. I can't wait to hear that story.
yeah, and I'm in the music industry right now, and I managed an artist named Jackie Velasquez. She's actually she's back there. She's standing right there.
Okay.
Jackie Velasquez, and one child approached Jackie to be a part of the organization in a way of being an ambassador. Uh, and during that conversation, I was talking to the one child president, and I was like, "Hey, just so you know, nobody really knows this, but I was a sponsor kid through one child," and he was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm a sponsor kid, and I work here in the industry." He's like, "Man, I would love to capture this on video," and I was like, "Sure." So he got me and my wife, Abby, who was 2 weeks away from giving birth to my son Elliot, who's now 2 years old. Got us in a room and started asking me to share my story.
Mhm.
And all this while, when you're a part of an organization, when you're a sponsor kid, they try to have some privacy laws by not telling you where your sponsor exactly is and connecting us. And that's just general across the border with any organization. But so all this while, I'm sitting in the room sharing my story, and then Mark Plummer, the then president of One Child, was like, "Hey, just so you know, Dave and Regina are here." I was like, "Wait, what?" And they didn't tell me, but they surprised me. They came down from Memphis, they drove up to Nashville, and they walk into this room, and I am there bawling, just overwhelmed with emotion. And it was the best, one of the best moments in my life when I got to meet Dave and Regina.
Can imagine.
And we've been family
Yeah.
for the longest time, and now I get to be in a place where I can drive over and meet them for lunch, or have them stop by my home. It's crazy.
That's just one of those like feel good stories where like, you listen to it and after you listen to it, like your feet don't hit the ground because your heart's so happy. And I love that story. And if it wasn't for David and Regina helping you through high school, college wouldn't have been an option for you. And so
Uh,
that's great that they did that because you were able to think about that. And as you said, Asbury University in Wilmore, Kentucky. And I have to ask, of all the schools in the United States, how did you come across Asbury? What led you to that journey?
oh my goodness. My life, there are things that when I start talking about it, like, how did this happen?
It's my
It's
life.
like
Really.
it's like winning the lottery over and over again. It's just impossible.
Yeah.
Uh, so live in Calcutta.
Mhm,
My parents, the older we got, they financially did better.
mhm.
And one of the things that my parents do, we run a small little orphanage for 40 kids.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
yeah, it's called my dad and mom's ministry called Lord Jesus Ministry, and they run this little orphanage. And as I mentioned, Mother Teresa, we actually live catty corner to Mother Teresa's house. So it's like Mother Teresa's house and then my house. You can kind of look look a little way, my house is right there.
Did you ever
And
personally meet her?
I did as a kid. Yes, yes. I
Well,
don't remember it, but I have pictures somewhere of me and meet her. But
that,
my parents, my dad would always stop by and talk to her and communicate with her and kind of go ask her for advice. And her heart was just amazing.
whoa,
So,
wow, what a cool thing to be able to say.
yeah, again, I don't even know how this happens, but an Asbury alum had come to serve at Mother Teresa. They have the mission work and they have a leprosy center in Calcutta, and so you can come and be a volunteer. And while he was doing that, he ran into my parents in my parents ministry with uh with the kids, and he was like, man, this is really cool and this is really small.
Mhm,
How do I become a part of something like this?
mhm.
And so he and my dad started a relationship, and now he's been in India. How goodness, if I've been here for 10 years,
Yeah.
he's been in India for now over 15, 16 years.
Mhm.
And he he needed to come back to the States to go and raise funds for his mission field. And he invited my dad, and my dad landed up going to Wilmore, Kentucky, and meeting at then the president, Dr. Gray,
Okay.
and then the dean of the media communication, Dr. Owens, and they were just breaking ground on the new media building,
Okay.
which was getting ready. And that's what I wanted to do. They were building a brand new studio, and they were building a audio production
Mhm.
emphasis. And my dad was like, that's exactly what my son wants to do.
Wow.
And next thing you know, I applied to get into Asbury, and I get an email saying, hey, you got into this school in Wilmore, Kentucky. I was like, what in the world is this? And my parents actually filled out the application. It wasn't me.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I had no idea.
No. Oh my goodness.
I had no idea it happened. So when I started Googling it on Google Map, there was nothing. And so I started communicating with the admissions department, and they were like, it's going to be this X amount of dollars. And I was like, there's no way
Yeah.
we can afford this. There's no way. Uh, and then they kept working. It was a time when the president's email used to be on Asbury's website. The president's email is not anymore on Asbury's website because my family emailed us so much and asked for so many prayers and so many
That's hilarious.
things that the email is not there. But I am partly to blame for that. But the school worked it out where they were able to give me a great scholarship. My parents were able to get a couple of family members and them come up with funds. And then I worked as the carpenter on campus for 4.5 years, and I never left during breaks and just worked.
Yeah.
And I was able to come to Asbury.
Okay, that is like the most amazing story ever. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think you were going to say Mother Teresa played a part in your journey to Asbury. Like, you're right. Like, when you tell your story, it's like, is that really what happened? Like, is this really your life? It's, oh my goodness, it's so fantastic. But you know, the amazing thing is that after you graduated, it didn't stop there. God just kept taking you another notch and another notch and another notch. And it's been a whirlwind of success for you since you did graduate from Asbury. So what I would love for you to share, you know, right after you graduated to where you are now, how you've worked and progressed.
Again, I have no idea how all of this works, but while at Asbury, we needed,
God.
yeah, God, easy. Uh, while at Asbury, we need an internship when we're in a major to be to fulfill your requirements for graduation. And one of those things was, I was like, man, I'm in the audio program. I need to go and be a part of the music industry. So I hitchhiked with a couple of friends, actually with your cousin Josh Jones. He
Another thing of like you come to Asbury and you end up being best friends with my cousin. It's just crazy how God
Yes,
works.
Yeah, and Josh drove me to town here, and I ran into this band called Unspoken. They're a Christian band. At that point in time, they weren't signed to any record label or manager or anything, and I decided to volunteer my time with them and start going to shows. And I ran sound and did lights and things like that for them. This was my junior year.
Okay.
Uh, then my senior year, I landed up working for Martina McBride and did the country music scene while I was here. And then during the same amount of time in my senior year, I got hired at the Olympics and I ran sound for figure skating and speed skating in Russia during the Sochi Olympics. Got back to Asbury, finished my degree in December. And that's when my wife, Abby, graduated as well. She graduated early. I was a semester late, and I get an offer from a church in Ohio. That's where Abby's from.
Mhm.
It's saying, "Hey, we would love." I did apply to the church while
Yeah.
I graduated. A bunch of different. They're like, "Hey, we have a position for being a director of media at that church." It was pretty decent sized church, of 5,000 people, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing!" And they had a full time job and had benefits and everything. I was like, and it's 5 minutes from my wife's house. And I was like, this is good. This is God, right? This is absolutely Him. And then I get a call from my buddies at Unspoken that are getting out to go on a Christmas show. And I was like, hey, man, so we don't need a sound guy because our record label already got us one of those. We don't need a tour manager. But we bought a bunch of lights from this other band called 10th Avenue North.
Uh-huh.
And so, do you want to come run lights? And I said, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And gave up that full-time job to come to Nashville
Yeah.
with my wife to run lights for a tour because I only spent so many thousands of dollars to go to a school for sound.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't make sense that why am I running lights? But I felt this tug in my heart that
Mhm.
God called me to come and do that.
Yeah.
And then I was a lighting guy for a tour for
Huh.
40 days. Next thing I was a sound guy.
Yeah.
Next thing I was the tour manager.
Huh.
And while you're a tour manager, basically you start overlooking every person at the show, be it the artist,
Okay.
the people running sound, the tour bus driver, the merch person. So I was at that position when that's more of a business level position because now I'm not just looking over people, but I'm kind of doing the business for the day.
Okay.
And that's where it clicked. Another aspect of the music industry was like, I really like this.
Yeah.
I'm really the numbers and figures and marketing and shows. All this makes so much sense to me. And Unspoken was one. And so the number of years I started doing that, I started working with multiple Christian artists here in town and country artists. And a Christian artist named Mark Schultz, while I was out with him,
Mhm.
he really loved my ideas and the things that I was telling him. And I said, man, I really have this passion of on the business side of things.
Mhm.
He's like, you do. Would you want to come help manage me? And I was like, what? And so I landed up co-managing Mark
Mhm.
and got hired to a management company that manages other artists like
Mhm.
Sandy Patty, Jackie Velasquez, Phillips Craig and Dean, Mark Schultz, Blue Tree. We can just keep going down the line. That I started looking after the careers in all aspects. And one of the people I worked with there, his name is Greg Lucid. And long story short, Greg is an Asbury alumni too. So
Like all over the place.
so so then we started bonding, and I worked over with Mike Atkins for a couple of years, and 2 years ago I decided to start my own company. Once I had worked with so many different artists, there was a lot of room for me to keep growing, and so I stepped out on my own and started Rixon Entertainment Group, and now manage artists in the Christian realm, just like a Selah, a Michael Farron, Elisa Turner, Nathan Sheridan,
Mhm.
and a bunch of other artists
Yeah.
that are in that space, and we just it just clicked, as you said. I didn't know
Yeah.
when I made a decision in the 8th grade, I want to be a part of the music industry. I didn't know
Yeah.
that being a manager is a thing. And
Yeah.
that's what I am.
Yeah.
And that's what I do every single day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's just my mind is blown right now because like I knew you, but now I feel like I really know you because I had no clue like how many details like God orchestrated for you. And you know, I want to say congratulations on Rixon Entertainment Group. That is an amazing accomplishment, especially as you mentioned, managing Selah. I mean, like that's crazy, and it's just a testament to your, you know, your integrity, your character, and the caliber of what you do. But I do want to ask this, and we kind of alluded to the fact earlier in the interview, but I want to hear this in your own words. If it wasn't for your parents and your one child sponsors, David and
Yes.
Regina, would you be where you are right now?
Absolutely not.
Mhm.
Without my parents' blessings and continued prayer and support of wanting the best for the children,
Mhm.
uh, I was a sponsor kid, but so was my sister, and
Yes.
so was my best friend, and
Okay.
so was my other best friend.
Mhm.
And so for all those people to have an opportunity, one child stepped in and provided that.
Mhm.
So I am surrounded by people that were championing me from a time when I had a dream, you
Yeah.
know, and I wouldn't be where I am without without Dave and Regina, or without my parents being able to sustain, you know, not only just providing for me and my sister when they didn't have a lot, but
Yeah.
then giving me the opportunity to come to America
Mhm.
and and have a shot of using the skills that I've accomplished
Yeah.
while I was in Calcutta. Um, and what it comes down to is basically saying that I am a product of love.
Mhm.
Like,
Amen.
I wouldn't be here without those people, and I am a walking billboard of what love can do. And
Mhm.
the coolest thing about this is what they did for me doesn't stop at me.
No.
Right now, as you mentioned, all the artists that I work with,
Mhm.
but beyond that, uh, I have a son,
Yeah.
you know, I have a son. His name is Elliot, and he's 2 years old, and he's
Adorable.
got, yeah, he's the most beautiful kid, and he makes his mom and I so happy. He'll never know what it is to grow up like his dad. He will not know the level of decisions and sacrifice that had to come into place. Yes, he's going to have his own struggles and own journey, but the kid has his own room.
Yeah.
I've never had a room. Even till today, I share a room with my wife. So
Figure
so
out,
it's,
not really.
yeah. In college, I had a roommate. It's like, can I get my own room with somebody? But Elliot has that, and the cool thing is now I'm in a place where I can sponsor kids,
Let's
and
pay it forward.
and I can influence people to
Mhm.
help sponsor kids. And Elliot has a little sponsor kid,
Mhm.
and my wife does, and it's just what we do. It's what we believe in and what we breathe in,
Mhm.
and I recognize the dream. And I have other sponsor kids reach out to me who know my story and have seen me come a long way, just saying thank you for being a voice
Mhm.
for us. And even though they might not be at a place where they have this influence,
Mhm.
they're still teachers and doctors
Yeah.
and and and, and people influential in their spaces.
Mhm.
uh, Mine's just a rare story where I was able to uproot and just move and leave my home and family, but now my family is a global community. And I love going on behalf of these organizations and sharing my story and seeing thousands of kids sponsored. Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
the best thing I've ever done,
Mhm.
ever done.
Well, that's so amazing, and it is true. that you're where you are because these people invested in you. That is one component. But I have to say that the other component is because you worked to where you get to where you are today to get to that. And, you know, because it may seem like it, but it didn't just fall in your lap. You had to work hard. And, you know, I think that's so biblical because that's what God expects us to do. He will open the doors, but he expects us to do our part to be ready to open those doors. And that's what you did in spades. But sometimes the work and the journey, it can be daunting and overwhelming. And you can wonder, how am I going to get from point A to point B? And so I would just love for you to give advice and encouragement to people who do have big dreams and visions of where they want to be, but they have a lot of mountains to climb to get to that point.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. It is a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice. I remember spending hours driving in ungodly hours from campus to Nashville to get on a bus on a Friday night to go into a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, get off the bus Monday morning, drive back ungodly hours to get back to classes and do it all over again, and sleeping in cars, on couches, on floors. It, I've been the driver. I've been the merch guy. I pushed the cases. I mopped the floors. I cleaned the bathrooms, and all of that. When I did it, I didn't know that it would lead up to this.
Yeah.
All I knew was like, I'm doing the best I can right now. And so, in whatever situation you're in life, and everybody's journey is different, you have a choice and a decision to make. How do you approach that situation right now? And that sowing the seeds right now has benefited me over the years, where I've held these relationships I can call from. And no matter what anybody tells you, especially in the music industry, because I do speak to a lot of students, and we have interns coming in and out of the office every day. I tell them there's no shortcuts. There's no shortcuts. It is hard work. It is hard work. It is a hustle, and it is a lot of sacrifice. And in all of that, you got to keep God number one. And by doing that, it's not just saying like, oh yeah, I'm keeping God number one. No, my prayer is, God, take me and use me. And as simple as that sounds, when I say that, is every position or everything I've ever done was whatever I was doing, I want to be the best at it. I wanted to be the best guy that grabbed your coffee. I wanted to be the best guy that, went out and washed the bus. I want to be the best at it. And so, especially in 2020, right? The whole world has come to a halt. People have lost dreams, have lost families, and have lost so many things that you cannot control those things. The only thing you can control is yourself. Even as I try to control my family, I cannot control them. I can help be there for them. So the only thing I can control myself and is my attitude up here. And if my attitude is pointed in the right direction, it pays off. It's just everybody notices it. No one's going to ever turn down help or you volunteering your time because you're willing to be a part of that. And here's my number one rule. I always treat somebody the exact same way I want to be treated.
Oh, yeah.
It could be whoever. You always want to treat them the exact same way you want to be treated. So that's probably been one of my key successes, is people understand that I respect them, I appreciate them, I listen to them, but also I don't take them for granted, and I love them.
Well, that is great advice. And if people can grasp onto what you just said, then they'll attain those mountaintop victories for sure. So, Marcus, I can't thank you enough for coming on Mountain Climbers and sharing your amazing fantastical story. I mean, my mind is blown with what God has done for you. And again, I want to congratulate you on all your success with Rixon Entertainment. It's just amazing what God is doing with that. And your story shows that when you have components of, people investing in you, working hard, and God behind the scenes orchestrating those details, then you can conquer your mountains. But the biggest truth it shows, and what I love the most, is this: when your strength comes from the right source, there's not a mountain you can't climb.